What if America's safest prison is a hidden hell, where guards rape inmates and violence erupts unchecked? That's the chilling truth of FCC Coleman, lurking in the rural shadows of Sumter County, Florida, about 50 miles northwest of Orlando, and just minutes from the quiet town of Wildwood. This massive 1,600-acre complex, the largest federal prison in the U.S., promises protection for vulnerable offenders, witnesses, high-profile convicts, even ex-cops. But beneath the barbed wire, it's a breeding ground for brutality, corruption, and betrayal, exposing the rotten core of our justice system. So what's really happening inside? Over 7,000 inmates across 4 facilities, from low-security camps to maximum-security penitentiaries, face a reality far from reform. Rotten food, rodent-infested kitchens, and attacks so violent they make national headlines. Why should you care? Because these scandals reveal systemic failures. Prisons meant to rehabilitate instead amplify abuse, costing lives, draining taxpayer dollars, and eroding trust in American justice. Stick with me as we uncover 3 dark secrets, plus chilling 2025 updates. Killer guards, fraud empires thriving behind bars, and a stabbing that shattered the illusion of safety. You won't look at prisons the same way again. If this shocks you, like, subscribe, and share, so more people can uncover the truth. Imagine a self-contained world larger than some small towns. Did you know FCC Coleman sprawls across nearly 1,600 acres, making it the biggest federal prison complex in the nation? Built in the 1990s by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, this behemoth in Central Florida employs around 1,300 staff and holds more than 7,000 male inmates. They're divided into 4 distinct facilities: the low-security FCI Coleman Low with its satellite camp, the medium-security FCI Coleman Medium, and the high-security United States Penitentiaries Coleman 1 and 2. Drawing from sources like the BOP's own records and Wikipedia, it's designed to handle everything from drug offenders to white-collar criminals, many serving average sentences of about 10 years, most without violent convictions. But here's the twist. This fortress isn't just a lockup. It's like an underground city teeming with diverse inmates, from cartel members to protected witnesses. It even boosts the local economy as Sumter County's top employer. Yet its sheer scale creates blind spots where shadows linger. So the real question is, how does such a massive, high-tech operation let nightmarish events slip through the cracks? On paper, Coleman sounds structured and secure, with programs for education, work, and recreation to promote reform. But step inside and the facade crumbles into chaos. Inmates navigate a rigid hierarchy, where gang affiliations enforce unwritten rules amid constant tension, fights over territory, smuggled contraband, and alliances that can turn deadly in a heartbeat. Satellite images reveal vast compounds, with gyms, libraries, and even outdoor tracks. But reports from insiders paint a picture of overcrowding and simmering rivalries that erupt without warning. And just when you think the system holds firm, what if the real danger comes from those sworn to protect? Hang on, we're about to uncover how the Watchers become the wolves. Can you fathom a guard being sentenced to life for orchestrating a murder? At Coleman, it happened, and it's a stark warning about power unchecked. Back in 2005, Corrections Officer Aaron Sharma deliberately moved inmate Richard Delano into a cell with the notoriously violent Frank Gonzalez, knowing full well the risks. Delano, labeled an informant, was beaten to death, and Sharma was convicted in 2009 of civil rights violations as detailed in reports from the Orlando Sentinel and the Department of Justice. She got life in prison, a rare accountability in a system where such acts are often hushed. This isn't isolated. It highlights how authority can warp into legalized violence, eroding trust and safety. If the enforcers of the law break it so brazenly, then who truly safeguards the vulnerable within these walls? USP Coleman 2 was billed as a safe haven for reviled inmates shielded from the masses. But in a flash, that myth shattered. In July 2023, disgraced former USA gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar, convicted of sexually abusing hundreds of athletes, was viciously stabbed 10 times in his cell, twice in the neck, twice in the back, and 6 times in the chest, according to AP News and ESPN sources. The attacker, another inmate, wielded a makeshift weapon exposing flaws in even the most secure units. Nassar survived, but the incident underscores how prison codes of justice override official protections. Even in specialized housing meant for high-risk figures, vendettas prevail. And if you think this is the peak of Coleman's darkness, brace yourself, the corruption runs even deeper. Picture a Wall Street fraudster pulling strings from his cell. Sounds like fiction, right? At Coleman, it was all too real. In the early 2000s, inmate Roy Agaloff, a convicted stockbroker serving time for racketeering, masterminded ongoing market manipulation schemes, right from FCC Coleman. As uncovered by federal investigators and reported in the New York Times and Wikipedia, he laundered money and hid assets, exploiting lax oversight to maintain his criminal empire. This reveals massive gaps in monitoring. Phones, visits, and even mail became tools for extending influence outside. So ask yourself, is Coleman rehabilitating offenders or incubating smarter criminals? It's a question that haunts the entire federal system. Violence isn't just inmate on inmate. Sometimes it starts with those in uniform. Multiple reports, including a 2019 lawsuit covered by the Miami Herald and Fuchsberg law firm, detail systemic sexual abuse at Coleman's former women's camp. Guards confessing to rapes yet evading full prosecution due to lack of evidence. Broader scandals involve bribery, drug smuggling, and assaults, with 2,024 charges from the U.S. Attorney's Office, highlighting everything from murder plots to hazing. A Senate probe in 2022 called federal prisons a hotbed of corruption, and Coleman exemplifies it. Analyzing this, it's clear. When oversight fails, prisons become breeding grounds for abuse, undermining rehabilitation and public trust. The human cost? Inmates left traumatized, families shattered, and society footing the bill for a broken system. If Coleman was built for redemption, why does it spawn more crime and suffering? Digging deeper, this complex, home to programs like vocational training and counseling, contrasts sharply with its violent underbelly. BOP stats show most inmates are nonviolent drug offenders, yet incidents like these point to a fundamental clash. Is the goal punishment or true reform? Experts argue overcrowded facilities. Coleman often operates near capacity, fuel aggression, while poor staff training amplifies risks. Compare it to European models emphasizing therapy over isolation, and America's approach seems outdated, costing taxpayers billions annually without reducing recidivism. Visualize the duality: classrooms buzzing with hope versus bloodied cells echoing despair. It forces us to ask, in a nation priding itself on justice, how do we fix a system that protects the powerful while preying on the powerless? Wrapping up those lingering threads, FCC Coleman isn't the safest spot it's portrayed to be. It's a mirror, reflecting America's prison pitfalls, from guard misconduct to inmate vendettas and fraud that defies bars. Reflecting on it all, in this so-called fortress, laws bend, power corrupts, and justice hangs by a thread, leaving us to wonder about the true cost of incarceration. But here's the haunting question. If even in prison, where control should be absolute, fairness falters, then where else in our world can we truly count on it? And if you feel that pull to keep searching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss a step in our journey to uncover what still hides on this earth. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.